Welcome back to the Mom's Wealth Club podcast. I'm your host, Lynn Plata. Here on the show, we empower women to create lasting wealth through education, support, and access to capital, all while staying rooted with our faith and our families. Today, I'm joined by Amber McCollum. She's an investor, a fund manager, a private money lender. Amber helps everyday investors raise capital the right way and scale with integrity. She's been featured on many different outlets and podcasts, and I'm so excited to have her with us here today. She often shares her expertise with all of us, and we're absolutely honored to have her here to talk with us today about capital raising, how she got started, leadership, and just building wealth. So Amber, why don't we start at the beginning and tell us how you got into money lending, how you got into all of the things what you're doing right now and leading you up to capital raising.
First of all, thank you so much. I'm just honored and grateful that you would even invite me to be on your podcast, first of all. Second of all, that introduction, I'm again honored just for your kind words. So thank you so much for having me. Yeah, so I started a few years ago. Just I took action really quickly. I watched YouTube a lot, and it was in the era of me taking care of my dad right before he passed. And I was just, watching late nights, watching things and working really hard and thinking about, the end of life because that's what we were going through. And I feel like a lot of people do not think about end of life care until you're in that moment. And as we were living that story, I just thought, I need to think about my own self. I have done everything right. I have a job. So did my dad. He had a job. I had retirement. He had retirement. But it just, at the critical moment, it didn't seem like enough. So as I was watching YouTube, I realized that real estate was, super easy or common, a way to build wealth quickly versus the saving for 30 years. So I got into real estate and here I've landed.
I've gone through the beginning of that stages with my parents. So it's totally changed my opinion or whatever on anything and what we think is security. My parents are they're in the independent living side of things. And this community will take them all the way through end of life, but
Right.
it's expensive. I mean, a lot more expensive than people can even imagine. And me getting ready, knocking on the 60, and it's something that, nobody wants to talk about. But what are you going to do if you're not prepared? So I get that.
Right. So I started as a wholesaler thinking that that's where everybody starts. A lot of people when you're talking real estate, but I hated it. So I quickly transitioned out of that and then just realized I'd like to be a lender. I'd like to be a private money lender. And I started down that path and then just fell in love with the money side of it and decided I wanted to be a fund manager. And so I went on this journey of raising capital and being a fund manager and it's been wild just to think about so many ways to partner in a venture like real estate. So it's been very educational and informative, but just wild, Lynn. I grew up just working, going to school, working, doing all of the things, and then jumped into this new world of entrepreneurship where it's just a roller coaster every day. And so you have these emotions around it and you really grow as a person, or you should be. So I've enjoyed it.
It is. It'll make you grow when you don't want to even. It's just throw it out there. So we have all kinds of women who listen to this podcast. So some of them might know exactly what being a lender means and then working your way into a fund manager. But can we, as you tell me a little bit about your journey, like you started out, did you start lending your own money? What did that look like? And then as we go into, I'd like you to explain what is a fund manager? What is actually what is the term raising capital actually mean? People throw that around, and as you're just getting into the real estate world, you've heard it, but what does it mean? So I guess we'll start there. You said you were watching these late night videos. You're transitioning from everything that wholesaling is, noticing everybody needs one thing, and that's money, right?
Sure. So a lot of people feel like, well, I don't have money, so I probably couldn't be a money lender. And I had that same belief system, but then I learned all these strategies on, having a self-directed IRA, or yeah, you can take your retirement essentially and direct it where you want it to go. There's a lot of other ways to do it too. You can start an LLC, start a lending business, so you can have a business where your whole goal is to lend money. So you pull money together and you have a setup, and that's similar to what a fund structure is. A fund structure is basically setting up a vehicle to be able to collect money so that you can lend it out. Now, there are so many different types of fund structures. A lot of times in like commercial real estate, you'll do things like syndications. Our fund is a private credit fund, which means we are the bank. So we take money and then we deploy money. There's different kind of structures like private equity where you take the money, but then you also purchase the asset. And so ours is not doing that. It's taking the money and then deploying the money and being able to get these investors a return. Now, we are not currently raising capital in our fund, and we actually haven't even had our huge launch party. We do have it all set up and ready to go, but we paused some of the acquisitions that we were doing until we commit to some exits, and so that's when we'll be able to launch the fund. But it's been such a learning experience, and I understand, like you're saying, that there's so many different walks of life and probably entrepreneurship here. And I just want to say there are friends and family that you have out there that I know has money to invest. And so if you are wanting to start a project and need capital to do it, there's money all around you. So I would start right there, friends and family.
And asking your friends and family. Now, do you need to be licensed to do this? Do you need to, are there SEC rules? What are you looking for when you're getting into fund managing?
Well, for fund management, there absolutely are SEC rules. There are different rules depending on what you're doing. So if you are having a single family property and you want to partner with someone and you're the one that wants to acquire the property and manage the property and hold the property and run the property, and then you have a capital partner who wants to come in and says, I don't want to do any of that, but I will give you the money for the down payment. You can do a partnership, and you that's fine. Like it can be somebody from any walks of life. That's where you'll really bring in your friends and family, and you can just go do a joint venture partnership with that person. Once you get into fund management, then there are different structures. So you can do crowd funds where you can take accredited investors and non-accredited investors. Then there are 506B where you can take up to 35 non-accredited investors, but you can't pitch it. You can't talk about it. You can't post on social media about it because you can't prime the market or advertise or any of that. They need to be investors within your market. We're already on your email list. You already have a substantive relationship. And then you could do a 506C. That's what our filing is. And you can talk about it. It's only for accredited investors, but you can market it and you can advertise and do all of these things. So I would encourage you, that's a whole long training. I would encourage you to get into it. So yes, there are rules and compliance things around raising capital. So I would encourage you to look into it. But at the end of the day, I mostly encourage you to think about your mindset, because when you're getting into any venture, all you need are deals and capital. And if you know how to find the deal, then I just want to encourage you that the capital's out there as well.
And if you have the capital, there's good deals. As long as you can underwrite them and you understand how that works. So it's really cool that you start out in wholesale, and a lot of people do, because you understand then what makes a good property, how to underwrite it, minimize your risk so that when somebody comes to you and says, I have a, I want to do this, you you know a little bit what that would look like. And then to be able to explain it. So you have your friends and family that are working. They don't want to go into wholesaling to learn underwriting, but you can actually show the numbers and you have an understanding that you didn't have. Um, there was one more thing I want to ask you real quick. There's kind of two basic caveats to being an accredited investor versus a non-accredited. So what are those two? Or I get there could be more, but the two that I'm familiar with, like how do I know if I could be an accredited investor and invest with you?
So to be an accredited investor, you need to, the most common things are either have $1 million in assets and not, that is not including your primary home, or you need to be making $200,000 or more per year for at least 2 years in a row. There are other ways, like if you have financial credentials and things like that. But, or you can be a couple and make 400,000 or more a year. So those are the ways to be an accredited investor. And a lot of people are. But if you want to raise capital from accredited investors, it's easy to find them on LinkedIn. That's how I find a lot of my investors on LinkedIn. You have your C-suite individuals, your doctors, your lawyers, your people who really want to just invest passively. But if you are going to do that kind of outreach, then absolutely you need to be looking for accredited investors for sure.
That's great. So, and when we get accredited investors, they're smarter. So you can have higher level conversations. They understand the risks. They're not those like, I'm going to give you my life savings and play the lottery on some Yahoo's little deal. You're actually talking to people that are at your level and understand things differently.
Well, and honestly, I go back and forth on this because as a person who was not an accredited investor for a long time, there were IPOs and things I wanted to be a part of. And I was just like, this is not fair, honestly. Like, how does somebody else get ahead? If I'm only making $50,000 a year, but I want to invest and I've been smart with my money, why? Why would you stop me from investing? And being on the other side of it, having been in deals where I've personally lost money, knowing the risk and underwriting the deal myself, I get the other side of it too, because I think the intent is that people won't invest their last dollar because it is not even about understanding. Maybe they do understand the risk. But when you are making a certain amount and all you have is $25,000 to invest, and that's your retirement, you've invested everything else. I think the goal was to protect people for sure. I think that was the goal. Still don't, it still doesn't mean that I love it. I also think that people should be empowered to make their own decisions. That's just part of personal liberty for me. And I don't want to gatekeep any opportunity. But having said that, real estate investing is extremely risky, even if it's the best deal, even if it's the best operator. There are some things you can never control, and that is going to be the market, and that is going to be anything that happens to the property. It could be a natural disaster. It could be something that you never expect. So just like the stock market, every type of investor, you will never convince me otherwise. Every single type of investment is risky. It's
Yeah.
just what are the rules? That's it. And we follow the rules, so
I know you do. And so yeah, that, you know what, actually, I think more along those lines, having been an entrepreneur and a homeschool mom, kind of outside the norm for the better part of my life, more time out on this side than I've never had a job. We'll start there. So, um, so yeah, I said that, but it's also like I think like you think, like I should be able to do what I want to do. So that was kind of a weird thing for me to say, but I understand. So I guess it's explaining it
no,
why they would say that.
right.
There are a lot of snake oil salesmen out in the world, and if you have somebody that's naive, that can happen, but that's their liberty, right? And so I see both sides. That makes sense.
Yeah, and there are a lot of scammers out there. There are also a lot of operators who are not scammers who are very inexperienced.
Mm.
And that can get you. So at the end of the day, I would say, regardless of whether you're an accredited investor or not, I mean, even non-accredited investors can get into crowdfunding on platforms like Fractional and things like that. And I would say if you are a non-accredited investor and you want to invest in real estate, you can do it. But I would be very, very careful of investing your last dollar because it's a risk. Everything's a risk. Now, do I believe in doing it? Will I do it again? Absolutely. I also think it's one of the fastest way to grow your money. And I think there are ways where you can be safe. There are safer returns, safer deals than others. It all depends on your risk tolerance. I want to grow wealth faster, so I'm pretty risky, but that's not for everybody. So
Well, it's only money and we know how to make it, right? So if as long as you can refill the coffers and you learn, there's one thing, no education is free. So you can spend $500,000 and go to the most elite Ivy League school and maybe learn from some professors that actually have some experience versus some of them that are textbook professors. Or you can go pay for your education out in the marketplace. And I found that every lost dollar that I've experienced, I have learned more than 10xing any amount of money. When you 10x your money, you
same.
celebrate, you hoot and holler, you were right. I don't have to analyze what happened yesterday. I'm on to something new. But when you lose, once you're done, like depends on how bad the loss is. Once you're done throwing up and you know losing sleep, you can sit down and say, okay, so I see what happened here. And again, it could be anything, or it could be a mistake that's totally on you. And those are the times when I've learned because I have made mistakes through this game.
I agree wholeheartedly. I've learned a lifetime of lessons in the past couple of years that I'm very grateful for. And they will make me a better entrepreneur and a better investor and a better steward of my own money. And I love that you said it's just money, we can go make it, because that's tying right into my own Mount Everest. I just want to change people's relationship with money. Like it is just a tool, and it for me it's going to be a tool for generosity and a tool for impact and a tool for me to secure my future and all of the things that I said at the beginning of this podcast. But also it comes and goes. I'm not going to take it with me, and I don't want to be so in like just I don't want it to be an idol. I don't want to be so geared towards I've got to make money that I forget to live my life. And because it's absolutely not everything. And if you go to zero, you can build right back. And usually faster because you've learned so much along the way. So I love that.
Right. You brought up mindset twice. I'm in the middle of some very intense mindset programs, and it's crazy how much our own mind helps us or stifles us in anything, relationships, health, weight. I've been on a new journey of trying to get healthy, and I realized through the years how that's played because of my mindset. And of course, money. Money is where it shows up most often.
That's true. That's true.
So, would you want to do like a case study? Can I ask you about a case study, like something you've got going on?
Sure.
Everybody likes to hear case studies, an example of maybe take us through the journey of one of the first thing you think of. It's probably not, the biggest or the best or whatever. You don't need to analyze what it is, but give us the journey from the beginning of discovering some way that you either lent money or raised money or whatever, all the way through it coming to fruition.
Okay, well, this one's kind of silly and funny. I will I will explore almost any opportunity myself personally. So I've invested in real estate, I've invested in fine art, I've invested someone tried to get me to invest in moving cattle. That's really funny because I'm a vegetarian, so I was just like, I don't know if this is with my values to invest on moving cattle, but I did entertain it. So right now I am currently in a personal investment where you can partner with e-commerce store individuals where they are capped. So they might be a new store owner, a digital store owner, and they can only do so much money movement because they have a certain credit score, or because they're brand new, so the banks didn't give them the lines that they need, but they have a lot of money coming and going, and they need lines of credit and things like that. So you can partner with them if you have an experienced LLC, which I do, and say, hey, I'm going to come in, we're going to joint venture this now instead, and it can they do all the work, and it's basically like that partnership joint venture that I talked to you about earlier. I'm just passive. I'm leveraging my credit and my money because I got into the program with them, and then they're going out and doing these sales. So that's what I'm doing, and it's just super funny because I'm investing on the other side of it, and I get a proceeds every single month. I've already made back my initial investment, and now I've got several more months of just getting paid on top of it. But there's just so many wild and weird and different ways to invest. And I think that if you want to make money, you can absolutely make money. No matter what, you can do it. You can invest in so many different things. You can do it passively, you can do it actively. And I guess that's the message with that case study, because it's just something simple, but profitable.
That's fun. So if somebody wanted to get started, what would you, I know how you did it for you. If you were going to cut off the learning curve a little bit for somebody, what would be the first, say, three things that you would tell someone that maybe knows a little bit, maybe they're a wholesaler, maybe they're a 9 to 5 person and is really interested in the money movement world?
I would, I don't even have three. I would say one. And that is, if this is your very first time investing, partner with somebody who knows how to underwrite and who knows how to do the due diligence, because you can get checklists, you can get advice, you can get all of those things, but you still don't know what you don't know from a checklist. So definitely partner with someone who either is investing or who has testimonials from that person, so they can walk you through what that very first investment looks like, because you don't want to go into it blindly.
Oh, that's really good advice. So like your own tutor, you kind of pay for the education that way. And
That's right. And they can connect with you because you have a large network of people, and you know a lot of investors. So
that's so cool. All right. So if somebody was looking to get to know you more, find out what you're doing, maybe partner with you in the future, how would people reach out to you?
the best way for me would be Instagram, and it's my name at Amber McCollum right here on the screen. That's how you spell it. And I will always respond to DMs there. If you try to get me on Facebook Messenger, it's going to go into a black hole. So that's the best way. And thank you so much, Lynn. This has just been super fun and exciting, and you're just the best of the best. So thank you.
Oh, well, thank you. So I know that you're going to get this fund rolling again. I know it's got a big buildup. I kind of see some of the things behind the scenes. So I'd like to have you back on again in a few months and see how things are going, and even see if there's any accredited investors out there listening that their ears are perked by what you're saying today. And definitely for everybody that's looking to get into it, just watching that testimonial will be really fun to see where we are on the other side in a few months.
Absolutely. Thank you. I would love that. Thank you so much.
Okay, that's what we'll do then. Now, so thank you so much, Amber. This was so fun. And I know that we haven't talked soon, or we haven't talked recently. So this was great that I knew I had this on the calendar for you or with you. So yeah, we will be in touch. And until next time, keep learning, keep growing. And remember, a wise woman will prosper. So buy the field, plant the vineyard, and watch it multiply. Thanks so much, and we'll see you next time.